All right, and we are live. Welcome to the Volleyball Coach Podcast. I'm your host, Alejandro Di Mendoza. I'm a club director, private coach, and someone who's passionate about helping players, coaches, and parents grow in the game we all love. Each week, we break down mindset and performance strategies with some of the best athletes, coaches, and experts in volleyball. The goal is simple: to give you tools, stories, and insights you can use right away, whether you're competing as a player, leading as a coach, or supporting as a parent. Today, I'm excited to be joined by Cam Green. Cam enters his 8th season at the helm of Maricosta girls volleyball, bringing him with a championship legacy and a global coaching resume. A standout alum, Green has been part of Maricosta's undefeated CIF team in 1990, then made national headlines as a gold medal winning outside hitter on the 1991 USA Junior National Team. In 1992, he's earned Maricosta MVP honors, League MVP, first team All-CIF, and a coveted spot on USA Magazine's Fab 50. At the collegiate level, Green starred at Cal State Northridge, helping lead the Matadors to an MPSF title and a trip to the NCAA finals in 1993. Over the next 25 years, his coaching career spanned every level of the sport, from club to collegiate, indoor and in the sand, at home and abroad. He's led 4 teams to national gold medals in the 13 Open, 16 Open, and 17 Open, guided top AVP and FIVB athletes, including Jen Kessie, Rachel Warchworth, and Olympian Heather Bansley. On the NCAA side, Green served as a D1 men's assistant coach at USC and Long Beach State, coaching in 2 national championship games and 5 Final Fours between 2009 to 2017. Green is revered as not only just as a tactician, but as a true student of the game, infusing every practice with innovation, soul, and an eye on the evolving needs of today's athletes. And with that being done, that amazing introduction by myself, we have Cam Green. Thank you for being here, Cam.
Oh man, what's up, Alejandro? Thanks for having me. I'm fired up to be here, but I appreciate it. It's weird hearing all that stuff. I forget about some of that stuff that you just read, so it's crazy to hear all that.
The first thing I got to talk about, just looking at your bio, was Cal State Northridge. Dude, when was the last time they got into they won the MPSF title?
Time, dude.
They might have. That's the only time.
Well, they might have won the MPSF since then. I don't actually remember if they've done it since then. It's the only time they've been to the finals, so it's kind of funny because we sort of act like the Miami Dolphins, where they're the only undefeated team in the football. So every year that Northridge doesn't make it to the finals, all of us kind of text each other like, "Oh, we're still the best team," which is kind of funny.
But who'd you play in that finals?
Oh man, we played like ridiculous UCLA team. We lost to them 3 times that season, but they had Mike Seeley setting, Dan Landry was opposite. The middles were Jeff Nygaard and Tim Kelly, who are like 6'9" and 6'10", and the outsides were Eric Sullivan and Kevin Wong.
Jeez, you just named like a ton of legendary names in volleyball.
That's what I'm saying. So it was kind of a tough battle, right? But they swept us all 3 times. Like nobody, I don't think anyone beat them that season. But it was fun. It was old scoring too. So the finals was funny because no one scored a point for like 20 minutes, and they recorded it for CBS, but they didn't show it live. They showed it like a couple days later. And when they showed it on TV, first serve was a point for UCLA. And we're like, what? We sided out probably literally 25 times. So yeah, it was kind of a bummer, but that team was pretty stacked.
Those side out matches, they went on forever sometimes.
Oh God, it was crazy. I tell people all the time, like, you don't even know, like a 5-set match could be like 3.5 hours. You could be up in a game to 15. You could be up 14-6 and lose the game. That happened to me a bunch of times. Like, it's crazy. Yeah, I'm kind of glad the way the sport is today because it was fun. But
I think now it's a lot easier to watch on TV, just because like with the side out, you just don't know how long those matches are going to go.
Yeah, no, it's way better for TV. And it's,
this is like a random question, but do you remember like your longest match during side out, like how long it was?
I played a match at Palisades High School, which we ended up losing in 5, and I was playing at Costa, and that was a little over 3 hours. Yeah. It was nuts, man. It was hot in the gym. I remember I was dying at the end of it, but yeah, it was pretty fun. I just wish we won the game. But
I completely understand. All right, so let's jump right into it. So, a little quick preview of some of the things we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about just building a program, athlete development, and just some advice for the parents. So, really, let's jump into like the player side. What do you think makes a great high school player stand out?
I think someone that can kind of, I think this is any a club, high school, whatever, but an athlete that can do all of the things. I tell this a lot. I think when I was at USC with the men's side, Brad Keller, who's the head women's coach there now, is he was on the men's side with us. And one day it was kind of funny story. We were sitting and talking about you know, if we were the head coach on the women's side, and it's funny because he is now, this is literally like 2009, we're having this conversation. What kind of players would we want on our team? And both of us did the same thing, which is like real athletes, like the player that can do the things, like they can make a volleyball play. And it's not just like, I'm a middle, so all I can do is hit and block. And then, like I want a middle that can get off the net and make a set, or like still dig a ball if they have to. So I think diversity, I think, and the ability to do like anything, to me, that's always massive, because I think you're going to find your way on the court if you have ball control and you're able to make plays in other ways rather than just like the basic see ball, hit ball type of thing. But for me, it's always that, like, the best volleyball players end up on the floor. So, and people laugh at that, but those are the best people that can pass, set, hit, block, dive, like make a one-handed play, whatever. To me, that's massive. Just learn how to play the game. That's why I encourage everyone to play beach all the time, because it's so good for you.
Yeah, I think especially when you're talking about like the highest level, it's so important to be really well rounded, especially when we're talking about like the national team level where they only get six subs. Middles have to be able to play defense and to serve. Where now I feel like I see in the club level a lot of kids at a really young age. I see it at a lot of clubs, they go straight into like 5-1, 6-1s, and 6-2s, and some of these kids are like already a middle and they don't get any passing reps at all. And I think that's such a huge tragedy at youth. You're
Yeah.
already deciding a kid like, now you shouldn't be passing.
Yeah. I feel the same, man. I got the pleasure of working with a Brazilian coach for 2 years. His name was Marcos Miranda, and he was a gold medal coach on Brazil's team in 1992. He was on the bench for the men's team in the Olympics in Barcelona. His son was on my team, so that's how that happened. And he had been coaching around the world for like his son's whole life, so he missed a lot of his son growing up, and so he decided to move to the United States for his son's last 2 years of high school. And so he was my assistant, which was kind of funny. Like, I had a gold medal coach sitting on my
Yeah,
bench,
man.
but which was cool because I was obsessed with Brazil and how they trained. And I've always wanted to go there. And then Brazil came to me, which was so cool. But my point is, to your point, is that the first thing he did, he said, "All right, coach, are you okay if I just do my thing?" And I was like, "Yeah, of course. Like, I'm going to learn from you. So just go do what you got to do." And the first practice, and this was actually with a girls team also, but the first practice, we basically pepper and ball controlled for 2 hours. And the girls were like, "Coach, what the hell was that?" I'm like, "Just trust this guy." Okay. And then the next practice was a little bit more, and then a little bit more after that. And basically what we ended up doing every day was defense and ball control drills to start practice, but everyone was doing them. So like by 2 months in, my middle blocker was diving in the middle of the court, saving a play, which she's never done before. And it was this really cool stepping stone idea of a practice plan throughout the year that like you just found yourself getting better at volleyball, and you couldn't help it with all the drills they did, multi-contact stuff. Like, so it really opened my eyes to how to do it, number one, and then two, how important it actually is, because you're right. Like, you're a middle, you're over here, you do nothing else. And so to me, I think this is a big problem in the game. And I think it's like sometimes why, as in the United States, we're a little behind with how we train our youth athletes. And we need to kind of take a look at how the rest of the world's doing it and say, like, hey, where can we do this a little better, especially the young ones, because most of us have no idea. Like, we get 11-year-olds on a court and put them on a full size court, and we're like, a light ball, okay, like, here, play regular volleyball. But in reality, that doesn't work. In the rest of the world, they have like small courts, 2-on-2. They have like very specific, like, step-by-step drills that these kids are playing real volleyball on a super low net and a small court at like 7, 8 years old. So I think there's so many things that we could do as coaches to learn how to like build our sport to grow in the right way, instead of just all of a sudden they're in high school and then we're learning the game at a high level. But Yeah, it's really interesting as I'm a big believer in like, let's all figure out how to play this game, you know?
No, absolutely. I think I love that you brought up Brazil. I don't know what it was. Years ago, I saw like a Kessel blog post about Brazil and how in U14 and below, I don't know if this is still true, but this is what I read years ago was that in Brazil, everything U14 and below, they run a 6-6. So everyone sets, everyone goes all the way
Yeah,
around, and they force everyone to play all the positions and develop all the skills. I think that's so huge. And again, here in the United States, I think we're so quick to go into that 5-1, the 6-2,
yeah,
and just pigeonhole some kids and really early in their developmentally, in their skill set. And I love the some of the things you brought up about just making the net lower,
yeah.
making the court smaller. It is absolutely there's a U10s division at nationals now for girls.
Yeah, it's
Have you seen
crazy.
them on that court?
Yeah, it's like
Dude,
a
they're
serve,
playing on
that's
an
it.
Olympic size court.
Yeah, it doesn't
Like
make sense.
it makes no sense. They have to cover so much. Like
Yeah,
we need something a little bit. We need to change. We need to make some changes as far as the youth development because they can start much earlier, but the net needs to be almost on the ground where they can get
yeah,
up and actually hit a ball over the net. And the court needs to be way smaller, like more like doubles, triples, and just I think like a third of the court. Like
yeah,
it's like one of the key parts of volleyball is learning to play with the people around you, right? But when you're on such a big court and the girls are U10 and they're so small, like there's so much space
it's
between
cr
them,
it's
you
crazy.
know?
Yeah, the court
It's
looks
so tough
massive.
for them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, the court is way too big. I actually have a controversial take. I don't know if you agree with me on this one, but I think should be a net height for boys between the U14 and the men's night height for 15-year-olds. Because I always thought it was such a big dramatic change for some of these eighth graders who are just banging balls on the
Yeah,
girls' net. And
yeah.
then they go to high school and it's such a shock for
Yeah,
them.
man, it's so funny. I actually love coaching boys 14s because you get these like really tall kids that are good at volleyball playing on this low net, and it's so much fun because you can do really high level stuff with them. And then you're right, and then the next year it's like, holy crap, this is crazy. And so the fall season in 15s boys volleyball is tragic.
Yeah. So what qualities do you look for in a player? When qualities do you think you look for players when they're trying to be successful at Maricosta?
I think the number one thing is like, what kind of teammate are you? I'm guessing you're pretty competitive if you're playing at Maricosta, right? So I'm guessing you've played at high level matches and you've been around like big time games. Anyway, so I think the thing that stands out to me is what kind of teammate are you? What kind of leader are you? And how do you handle adversity? Because it doesn't go well all the time. Uh, the idea is, I'm guessing if you on this team and you've made it to varsity, like you are a competitive, strong athlete, right? So the question is, how good are you in the gym, and what do you bring to the culture of our gym to make it a good experience on a daily basis? Because it's pretty tough, right? Like the season changes all the time. Win some games, lose some games, or maybe people's roles are changing, and so the energy starts to feel different. So if there's someone that can bring some joy into the gym and also be a leader, like shows what hard work looks like, be like this positive influence on their teammates, like that's my favorite part. And it's tough to find that, but for me, it's really important because I think we talk a lot about culture in our gym, and if I can keep that culture to the point where people are feeling good, then we're doing something right. And so, yes, competitive, hard worker, but really like, how are you as a leader and as a teammate? Like that's really important. And as a person off the court, you got to be the right kind of person.
Yeah, absolutely. So what do you feel like are some common mistakes high school athletes make on or off the court?
I think the idea that they're playing the game for a reason, meaning I need to get a scholarship. I have to pad my stats so that I can get a scholarship. Or even just I have to play volleyball so that I can actually get into college. Because it's tough to get into school. So it's a tool to get into school, which I
Yeah.
understand. But what happens is when you do that, it's not fun anymore. And it becomes work and it becomes stressful because you start to freak out if like it doesn't go your way, or now what if you're not starting actually? And so when that happens, I don't think you can be the best version of yourself on and off the court because you're so hyper focused on a result instead of the idea that like, hey, this game's actually awesome and it's really fun and we all love it, which ironically, if you just focus on that, you probably play your best anyway. So it's losing focus of what you're actually there for in the first place. Like, why did you start when you're 10 years old or 11 years old? Because it's really easy to do, and it's not their fault. It's the pressure of what school's like. It's the pressure of how hard it is to get into college. So it's not their fault at all, and they're just kids trying to figure out how to navigate it all at all, and they don't always have the tools to do it. So that's where important to me to try to give them the tools. But I think that's the biggest mistake, is we get lost in the idea that somehow this is work instead of fun.
Yeah. I'm sure social media hasn't helped with everything. All these kids looking at all these other athletes or what they're doing, or they're getting NIL deals. And it's like, wow, man, or they're committing to certain schools. And that can be
Yeah.
easy to see.
No, it's hard. And then that's what I did a post about this, was like, June 15th is not commitment day, it's communication day, right? But then there's this pressure that everyone sees, like, oh, like, the 5-star blue chip, like the 5 of them in the country or whatever it is, they're committing like a couple days or on the same day. And then it's like, parents are freaking out, like I did something wrong, I didn't take enough lessons, or we didn't go to enough camps. Like, no, man, you're gonna be cool. It's just because of that, right?
It's
Like,
tough.
the social media aspect of it is very good for them in one aspect in terms of like getting themselves out there and recruiting, but it also can be really damaging because you compare yourself naturally to everybody else. We all do, right? Like, that's what we do on social media. We could like, look, I didn't go on that vacation. I need to go on a vacation. Like, look at that guy. What's he doing? So it's pretty tough, and learning how to navigate both those things is important but difficult.
Yeah, I'm sure you can agree with me on this, but I'm very thankful that I grew up during a time where social media wasn't that big. Like the comparison didn't affect me. I wasn't constantly on my phone as a teenager looking at other people's Instagram and seeing their lives and like, man, and just like FOMO, right? Just fear of missing out,
Yeah,
watching
yeah.
other kids. And that's like, I'm a little thankful that that kind of passed me a little bit.
Oh, me too. I mean, I it wasn't even like talked about back then when I played. So it was like, you live in your own little world and you create your own image in your own mind, and that's about it, really. So, but yeah, it's tough. I try to give my kids the tools to like figure out how to be creative outside of their phone and go outside and, you know, play games and play whatever we can. But yeah, I
Build
actually,
social skills.
oh my God, it's massive. And I get how fun it is for them to do what they do. Like playing video games online with your buddies is, everyone's talking smack and like it's super fun. I get it. But you got to go outside and do a thing. So I'm really grateful that I grew up that way. And now I'm trying to find the mix with my kids.
Yeah, no, I grew up where anytime you go to like family parties or family friends' houses, and I would have to walk in and my parents would make me say hi and shake every single person's hand. And then when we would leave, I would have to go to every single person and say bye, give them a hug, give them a kiss on the cheek, like every single person. As a kid, it was so annoying, but as an adult, I'm like, man, dude, I have social skills.
Yeah, yeah.
I can talk to people and not feel awkward. And it's, I think that's such a huge thing. Well, obviously I think COVID, made a little impact too, but also social media where these sometimes the social skills aren't there for all these athletes.
Well, I think that goes back to your other question, is like, what are some of the mistakes that you see these kids doing, is like that social aspect. Because when I was recruiting, and I was on the men's side at that point, but man, when I get on the phone with a kid and he can't like carry a conversation, it's a first like red flag for me. It was difficult. Like, you need that ability to communicate, and that's such a big part of our sport, right? I think that is a huge factor in the idea that we're always looking down and not really engaging. So that one, it's a really good point. We do the same with our kids. Like, as soon as someone comes over, they have to shake their hand, look them in the eye. And same thing, give them a hug goodbye. So I think that's really important, man. It's a good point. And I think sometimes they lose sight of it. And again, it's not their fault, right? It's like, none of this is their fault. It's just the nature of the beast. So as parents and coaches, I think it's important for us to sort of like give them those tools and teach them, because they need it. It's so important. Like getting on the phone with a coach, like never forget a kid when I can talk to him and I have like a real conversation. I never forget. I just happened with one of my buddy's sons the other day. He was a football kicker at Maricosta, and I was like, "This kid is so cool." Like, we had a full conversation. Like, we had a Costa like picnic thing, and so he was there, and but it stood out to me because it doesn't happen all the time. So I always
Yeah.
am
First
impressed with.
impressions, how you carry yourself, people remember that.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? I think especially now in today's age, people crave that human to human interaction, right? Every time you go, you're asking for customer service on the phone, right? And it's a robot. What's the first thing everyone does, man? I want to talk to a person. I want to
Always.
talk to a person. I don't want to talk to a robot, right? So we're social creatures. We crave that human interaction. And I think as an athlete, you need to know how to navigate that, right? You need to know whether it's your body language, your tone, those are all really important things to convey a certain perception that you're going for, right? Especially if you're an athlete trying to get recruited or trying out for a club team, like you want to portray yourself as someone who is desirable, someone that you want to have me on your team, and I think that's massive.
Yeah, I agree, man. It's a really important skill.
Absolutely. All right, let's get on to the coaches section. So building and leading a championship program. So how do you develop a winning culture at Maricosta?
It's the culture is the big word there. And I always strive for new ways to do it. I think when I spent 2 years at Long Beach State and watching Coach Alan Knipe, and at that time, Tyler Hildebrand was there, Nick McCrae, and it was TJ DeFalco's freshman year and Josh Tuaninga. So the freshman and sophomore year. So I got both those 2 years with those guys. And I had never seen a culture like that until I walked into that gym. And it was the greatest thing I had ever seen. You had freshmen communicating with seniors about what they're seeing on the court and what they could have done. Like if someone was back row and you saw a blocker that was too wide, for instance, the freshman was able to say, "Hey man, you were like a little wide on that wall and you got to move it in." And they're having this dialogue, and I'm like, what is happening in here? Like, players are coaching each other. And it was one of the greatest things I've seen, because it just developed this this idea that we're going to work hard, we're going to talk, we're going to it was amazing. And so like I took all of that with me, and I had a lot of conversations with Coach Alan Knipe, who I think is one of the hands down the best coaches in the country, one of the best coaches I've ever been around, and an incredible human being that I learned so much from in 2 years. But he says, like, we got to talk about culture. You got to say the word culture and you got to bring it up. And then the kids start to buy in. And so like, I've really like taken that to heart. And it's especially difficult, I think, on the girls' side of things, because their emotions are different and they're going through different things. And so for me, we talk about finding ways to have fun a lot, finding ways to make sure that I'm coaching player number 21 the way I'm coaching player number 1 and 2, which is really difficult to do sometimes, because you get lost in like what needs to happen here. And so for me, number one is like, can we have fun in the gym? Can all of the kids feel like they have value to the team? And that is massive, because they do, and they don't believe it sometimes, right? Like, if your B side is not doing anything against the A side, we're wasting time. But if your B side is kicking ass and playing hard and making the A side work their asses off, then we're growing and you feel like you're a part of something, even if you're not on the court. And so for me, always number one, like, how can I get player number 1 and player number 21 or 20 or whatever it is to feel like they matter? And so when that happens, then you're really like doing something, and everyone starts to buy in and get excited. And then practices become fun. When I was 93, when we went to the finals with Northridge, I was on the B side, and the best volleyball I ever played was in practice. We were beating the ones team on a daily basis, and it was so much fun. And I learned that lesson early, because I had never sat on the bench in my life going into college, right? So I was like, what the hell is this? But I learned early, like, this matters. And so to me, like, if you can do that, you're going to have success. Whether you're winning championships or not, you're actually like helping these kids more than they know.
Yeah. And I know, especially like once you get past the starters, those girls and guys, they really appreciate that they feel seen, that you're just not only focusing on the starters. And honestly, I don't know if this is in your experience, but in my experience, a lot of times, some of those kids on the B side who maybe don't get as much playing time, they usually end up being like the glue kids, right? The glue that kind of keeps the team together, in my experience, like really winning those kids over, really making sure those kids value, like having a bench where they're not pouting, they're supporting each other. Like that's what keeps the team together. And it's so important to, I think throughout the season, you get so focused on what's going on the court, but can you also pay attention to those kids on the bench and make sure that they understand that they're a part of something, and that just elevates everything, not only what's happening on the court, but just as a program.
It's huge. I try to tell my bench all the time when I can feel them and hear them in a game, like how much it matters. And I hope that they hear it. Like I don't always know if they do, because it's really sincere on my end, because I just know how much the people on the court appreciate their fire. So I always say it to them. I hope it lands well. I'm always concerned about the girls on the bench. It's really tough because it's not easy to play everyone, especially when I got 24 kids this year, but
Wait, you have 24?
yeah, I didn't intend
Dude.
to. We started off with 21, and then I added a few at the end, and
All right.
it just, every year is different. I always end up around like 20 anyway, so I'm like, all right, let's just keep going.
Let's just go for it.
Yeah,
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 man. I think it takes a certain type of coach to be able to manage that. I don't think everyone could manage it, but obviously it seems like you're doing a really good job.
thank you.
What are some mistakes you see coaches make at the high school or club level when it comes to just building that culture or just building a championship team or program?
Yeah, I think number one is just communication. It gets so easy or we get afraid. I remember when I was younger, I would be afraid to have the hard conversation with players because I was like, oh, I'm going to piss them off, or like their mom and dads are going to be upset. So I would avoid it and kind of ignore it or whatever for a long time. And always comes back to haunt you, and you're not helping anyone anyways. Not being afraid to have the hard conversation and just be truthful about what it is. And so I think if the biggest message we can have as a coach on a big program is to say what you're going to do and how you're going to do it, and then actually do it. That's big. And that means like letting kids know, why aren't you playing? Like, well, here are the reasons. Why is this girl better than you? Here are the reasons. And just sticking to your philosophy, like in terms of how you use your bench when you sub people in and out, or like how you make decisions for starting lineups, and just being consistent with your message. So communication and consistency are those were my biggest mistakes as I was growing as a coach.
Yeah.
And I had to look back and go, okay, like I need to fix it. And it's served me way, way better to just be completely upfront, say the hard things. And I think parents appreciate that. And I think the kids appreciate it because
Yeah.
at least they know where they stand, and then they can like build towards getting better. But to me, that's number one.
Yeah. The transparency, role clarity really early on is absolutely massive. Like when you get ahead of those conversations in the beginning of the year and make your athletes understand where they currently stand, and then also explain or what are the steps they need to take to achieve their goals and what that would look like, I think is absolutely massive. Because if you don't have those conversations, then they're just going to start creating stories in their head, and it might be completely off. They might feel that you think about them a certain way, and you might be in a completely different space, but because you don't have that conversation early on, right? They don't know that, right? They're just left to wonder. And then there's a massive disconnect. And as the season goes on, it just keeps on getting wider and wider. But if you communicate early, I think beginning of the year, you're transparent and if they have a clear understanding of where they currently stand, I think that makes things so much smoother for the rest of the season.
Yeah, it's huge. I agree 100%, man. It's the way for sure.
How do you balance discipline with building confidence in athletes?
That has been a challenge for me because most of my career, and people that could play for me now are always surprised when I tell them this, but like I was a yeller. I was like in their face screaming, and it got to be too much for kids. And also youth athletes changed. Well, I've been doing this 30 years or over 30 years, right? So like I've seen a lot of difference, including how I played and how I was coached. So the discipline side of things I look at completely different now. I don't punish my team a lot. I don't yell a lot anymore, if at all.
No suicides?
No, it's so funny. I go back and forth with all of it, but I had this conversation with Tyler Hildebrand over the summer. We had a friend's birthday party getaway in Palm Springs, and he and I were rooming together. And when we get together, we just like talk volleyball for hours. It's kind of funny, but because I think he's a genius coach, and so I have a lot of respect for him. But I was talking about like how to keep the fun in the gym, and how when my kids don't work hard, it's frustrating. And like, what he's like, what if you just didn't worry about it? And I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, well, if you don't put energy into it and you celebrate when it is good, you'd be surprised what kind of happens. And it's been a really good balance of that is, more celebration of the good stuff tends to lead to more of the good stuff and less
Mhm.
resentment and less like, oh God, okay, fine, we'll run 2 more sprints or whatever. If there's like a need, we'll do something simple. Like if the ball drops with zero, literally no effort we'll go up and back twice or something just to acknowledge like this isn't okay. But even that I've changed, as I've gone and some people don't agree with me and I'm okay with it. But, I tend to lean more towards to just like celebrating the positive now than I do making people like run because they played poorly.
Yeah.
Like I don't believe in that anymore. And I guess earlier I didn't know any better, right? And so I was like, this is how I was
And
taught.
yeah, exactly. That's how most coaches are. I think even still now, they coach the way they were coached,
Yeah, totally.
right? I was exactly like you. Like when I first started coaching, I was a yeller, and I think like 2 years in, I'm like, man, this is tiring. Like
It is.
you would finish. I would finish a practice, and I'm like, dude, I'm exhausted. It's a lot to keep that kind of intensity the whole time. And I completely agree with you. I've really gone away from punishments. It's first of all, it wastes time. While they're running, you could be getting better at volleyball and
Right.
working on skills and trying to find a different way to motivate them that didn't involve taking time away just to make them run or do some kind of physical punishment. I've really, really gone away from that. I think that's really, really huge. It just focus on focusing on the positive, right? And just focusing on what they can do to continue to improve. I think, yeah, it's really, really big.
Yeah. This feels better in the gym anyway. It's nice. And if you have to if you have to address something, I tend to address it one on one. I'll pull them aside and say like, "Hey, look, here's what we need to do here. Are we understanding as to why and what's going on?" And that's helped me, I think, a lot. I think that's been a much better sort of approach to it, um, than just like, "All right, everybody's running."
Yeah, it's one of the things I've actually personally struggled was getting athletes who are only used to that type of coaching and then coming to me and frustrated that we don't make them run.
Yeah,
Have you ever come across that?
dude. Literally, my last club season, it was exactly that, and it was like she came from a program where, and I don't want to call anybody out, so I won't say any names, but
You're good, you're good, you're good.
But that's literally all they did was yell and run and the
They get used to it.
teammates were yelling at each other. And so she came into my team and she was yelling at my girls. My girls were like, what the hell is going on? Why is this girl yelling at us? Because they didn't, and I was like, okay, well, there needs to be some sort of accountability. Like there's a way to do it. So I had to manage coaching the new girl through it because it wasn't her fault necessarily. She didn't know anything. And then I also had to manage
Yeah.
my own girls for like saying, okay, well, we also got to be accountable for what we're doing. And if my teammate says I got to go for the freaking ball, I should probably go for the freaking ball. And so there's like, to me, that was an interesting challenge, which was cool because both learned, I said like, okay, you can't be so much here and you guys can't be so soft here. Let's kind of meet in the middle somewhere. And I think we'll grow from it. So it's funny you brought that up because it literally just happened. And it was like that exact thing.
Yeah, it's interesting how you have to really teach players to adjust, right? And coaches have to adjust too. It's not a one-way street, it's a two-way street. And a lot of these kids have to understand that there's so many different styles of coaching and you got to really learn to adapt and there's not only one way to do it. I always tell this to my athletes like you're going to have coaches you don't like. You're going to have teammates you don't like, right? But pouting or acting so isn't going to get you anywhere. Same thing in real life. You're going to have, guess what? You're going to have a boss you don't like one day,
Sure.
right? You're going to have coworkers you don't get along with, right? But that's the great thing about team sports is you get the opportunity to practice those skills and to be in that kind of situation. And if you want to be successful, if you want to have a great career in the workforce, like you need to learn how to navigate those dynamics and to thrive and be successful,
Yeah.
right?
100%.
All right, get into the fun section, the parent section, right? So supporting athletes the right way. So what role do parents play in their child's?
Well, it's a massive role, and it can go either way, I think. And so, and I've run into all of it. And I think my most recent conversations were if we can, and it's hard. Being a parent's tough, man. Like I got kids, right? And so I understand now from that side of things on how difficult it is when your kid's upset. Doesn't seem like it's fair. Like you want to help them through it or you want to fix it sometimes, or you're inclined to just make it better instantly. So I get it. So I think there's this like fine line of trust and understanding from a parent's side that they can help guide their kids make decisions, but ultimately their kid needs to learn how to do it themselves, right? It's okay to like talk them through it, but I think giving them the tools to be able to talk to a coach and like find out real answers and being okay with the answer and then having a plan to how am I going to handle this? So it's a constant or it's an ever evolving sort of thing as a parent because every situation's different. And I think when we can understand and help our kids understand that learning how to deal with the part that doesn't go our way is probably more important, or definitely, I think, more important than how to handle it when it does go your way, because that part's
Yeah.
easy. And so as they get older, especially, I think like into high school, they're able, the more they're able to handle things, I think give them the tools to try to handle it on their own first. And then if you need to step in, okay, that's fine. Let's have a conversation and we step in. But it's again, like I'm not calling parents out because I understand how hard it is, but I think that's a really big gift we can give our kids is like, let's step into navigating how to handle adversity with our own decisions and our own thoughts and our own communication, and learn how to do it. And if I need help, okay, come on, and mom and dad, let's go. I need your help. To me, it's ever evolving, and just massive support, because it doesn't always go their way, and we gotta figure out how to do it.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. I think, the really easy example would be the playing time conundrum
Yeah,
and letting kids, go through that and talk to the coach first. Like that is the analogy I always use with when I talk to parents, when I talk to athletes is it's important for these kids to have some uncomfortable conversation. Talking to an authoritative figure it can be really uncomfortable. The example I always use is like when I ask my boss for a raise,
yeah,
do that. Even I'm in my 30s. That's
yeah.
still an uncomfortable conversation for me, right?
Always. Yeah,
Going to him and like, can I have some more money?
yeah, yeah,
And that's the very similar question, and that's a very similar situation that these kids go through when they're talking to their coach about, I want to play more. That's tough. They see you, the coach, as an authoritative figure who makes these decisions, and they want more playing time, and that's an uncomfortable conversation. I think, in my experience, I don't want to rob that kid of that experience because they're gonna have uncomfortable conversations with authoritative figures when they get older. And again, sports is a great vehicle for life. There's a great opportunity for kids to experience having these uncomfortable conversations and maybe fumbling and not doing great, but that's how we learn. We learn through our mistakes. We learn through doing,
yeah,
right? And if the parent just steps in automatically and totally circumvents and just goes around and just goes straight to the coach, like the kids are the ones who end up losing out. They
yeah.
lose that opportunity to improve not only their social skills or to advocate for themselves. I think that's a really big missed opportunity in my.
Me too. It's huge, and I think as you talk about sports are, like an avenue for like our lessons that we learn in life. This is if you look at like statistically, athletes in the workforce get jobs first because employers know that these kids have dealt with being on a team, dealing with adversity. How do they handle when things, they like it happens all the time. When I was at USC, they talked about it on a daily. Like USC people hire USC people, but they'll hire USC athletes over a non-athlete first because of these reasons. And so if we take those away from these kids, we're not learning the right lessons, I think. So, but But being on the parent side definitely gives you a different perspective of how difficult it can be, but, I deal with it with my stepson. We had to have some tough conversations about, okay, like, have you done your part? Here's what's not fair, I think, and here's what could be different on the other side of things, and what are you doing on your side of things? And so we kind of talked through both so that he was responsible for what he needed to do, but also understanding like, yeah, maybe this didn't go as well as it could have over here because we had sort of a weird situation on his team. But it was really a cool lesson for me, even as a stepdad, to try to help my 13-year-old stepson deal with this. So it's good. I think as parents, we got to learn just like the kids need to learn because we don't know what the hell we're doing. There's no parent book, right? So like you got to figure it out on your own. So it's the same thing. We don't do it all right as parents, but you try. And so for me, that was a really important lesson to learn and watch how my wife handles it and his dad handled it. But yeah, I think it's really important that we give the kids the tools to learn how to grow themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I don't have kids, so it's really hard for me to sometimes speak about this. I can only speak from my perspective, but you actually having some kids and going through it, I think that's what gives like the viewers and everyone who's going to listen, like, oh man, this guy is actually knows what we're talking about, is dealing with some of the things that we're dealing with.
Yeah.
What are some common mistakes parents make that hurt their athletes' growth or mindset?
Just, I think, not letting them feel the reality of what the situation actually is, like sugarcoating it, or, I think that's important to kind of look at. And kind of maybe what I just said is like, let's walk through what your son or daughter should actually be accountable for. Because we don't believe that our child didn't do the work, or, sometimes it's like, of course they're good enough, or of course practice they're showing up every time. And, that's the thing I tell parents, like practice is where your shot is. It's not in a game. Because if I don't see you do it in practice, like, why would I assume you're going to do it in a game? And then parents aren't at practice. So I think let learning to give our or have our kids understand where they are accountable for what went wrong, because they are accountable for some of it. The coach is accountable for some of it. No one's just immune from accountability in this situation. So when we just say like, oh, that's BS, like you're getting screwed, I think that's where we go wrong. Let's walk through it and go, okay, like how'd you show up, right? Like are you playing the right way? Are you being a good teammate? Are you doing the right things? Because if not, let's fix that and that'll help. And then we go from there. So I think looking at it from both sides and making sure that you're seeing it through the right lens as a parent, that maybe your kid needs to do some things on their end as well as the coach.
Yeah, I think and that's not always easy, right?
No.
Being able to, because it's your kid and you want what's best for them and you want to protect them. And there's a lot of emotions involved and it's not always easy to take a step back. But I think that's absolutely true. I think being able to, be the adult and breathe and try to guide your kids as best as you possibly can. I think that's all you can really do as a parent. Cause like you said, there's no guidebook,
Yeah.
to being a parent,
Yeah.
which I'm sure parents would love that.
Yeah, it would help probably. My wife had 2 kids before me, so that was like the best guidebook ever because she already knew all of these things, and I was in like full panic about everything that was going on when he was a baby. She's like, "He's fine. Like we're good here." And so she's been through a lot. So for me, that's the best guidebook I could ask for.
Absolutely. How can parents support their kids during tryouts and the season? Because tryouts are stressful. I'm sure for the
Oh,
parents, especially high school and club, it's crazy right now.
it's a really good question because like I just went through it on both sides. I went through it on the parent side for club for boys, and then I went through it on the coach side for high school, all within a few weeks of each other. And it's crazy because, as you know, in club, it's getting cutthroat out there and teams are combining, and that's like causing ripple effects everywhere. And so
Yeah.
I think, and this, man, it's a tough question. I think a really important lesson is to, and I don't even know if kids can learn this lesson because I didn't learn it until like way later in life. Is like an understanding that like you will actually end up exactly where you're supposed to. But it's difficult to teach kids that because until you've gone through a lot in your life, it's hard to look back and go like, oh yeah, like I had to have that happen. Some parents are successful at that. I've talked to some kids and they understand that, and it blows me away. I'm like, well, that's really, really high level. Like
That took me a long time to figure out
it's
that.
hard, dude.
I am where I am because of the experiences I have, and I'm thankful for that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And everything happened exactly the way it was supposed to.
It always does, but it doesn't feel like it. Like if you don't make my team, for instance, it feels like the world's ended. And I know that.
Yeah,
And
when you're 13 years old,
it's
it's
hard.
hard. You have
Yeah.
that you can't think long term. So when you're a
No.
kid, you think in the now, the short term, and when you get older, it's much easier to look 5, 10 years ahead and understand. Yeah, this is going to help me in the future. But when you're a teenager, all those hormones, emotions, big emotions,
Yeah.
it's tough to see past that.
It's tough. So I think if you can give them that, like, a talk through them on that side of things, walk through like what have we done to prepare for this time? Like, have we trained? Have we like? And I'm not big on like overtraining, but obviously you got to kind of get yourself ready, and then if you've done the things that you need to do to like walk into this tryout season or go to these clinics, the rest of it's out of your hands, and then you let go of the result and you let it go. But that part is very tough for everybody because, as you know, the trial system is a joke. Like no one tells you the truth. Everyone's like not like I don't want to say too much because I don't know if I commit here, then someone else could commit over here, and I might lose my chance over here. And it's like
Yeah.
it's a mess. So
It's tough. It's tough because there's no integrity, unfortunately.
yeah, there's very little. Yeah,
Where I it's you in my experience, I've had athletes who committed to us and said they're in, and the next day they're at another tryout and they go somewhere else, and which is really unfortunate because I've been in a place where I had to say no to a kid who really wanted to be on my team and say, man, because I gave the commitment, I gave it away, and then the kid goes somewhere else, and the day they're supposed to sign up and tryouts are passed, and they go join a different club, and I'm like,
now both are gone.
damn. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Now we lose out on two kids. We lose out. I feel terrible for that one kid we said no to and had to turn away. And I knew she really wanted to be with us, but we're trying to put together a really good team, and it's just tough.
yeah,
There's not a lot of loyalty, which is weird because when I was a athlete and playing club, like I just stayed with one club. We just we you didn't jump around. So it's just tough. It's really, really tough to navigate that. And especially for the parents, if they haven't played club or it's usually the parents who had an older child play club. The second child, they know exactly
yeah,
they know
yeah,
what to
yeah.
say. They know how to navigate it. Unless your parent was a club coach and they understand, really can be really overwhelming for some of these parents. And I really try my best to help a lot of these parents navigate the
Yeah.
club world because it's not easy.
It's tough, and just being just having integrity and being open is about what you're doing, and it's I always tell people like if you're wavering between two clubs, all good, just tell me because I need to know, and I can make decisions based off that. But like I always laugh when I get to we're 99 because I always know like 99% in, not one time has meant yeah we're in. It always goes the other way. It's like okay, just let me know. And now I just kind of learn and I understand like why people do what they do. I get it. Like the way like nobody helps each other out because no one's really honest. So then it becomes this rat race to figure it out and get there first. And
Yeah.
it's difficult. I get it, but like really this all could be solved with just really open communication and honesty and coaches too. Like we have to do the same thing. Like we have to say like, here's where I see you, here's where you stand. Like, and so they can make decisions on their end too. It's not just the parents and the kids that are responsible for this. Like we have to do our part of like being transparent and saying like, yeah, I see your kid third on the depth chart right now, like on as an outside hitter. So like maybe they instead of just being like, oh no, I want everybody to fill my team, but it's hard for everyone. Yeah, I think we can all both sides solve it by being very open, would help. But I don't know if that's
Yeah.
ever gonna change,
It's it's tough. These parents are paying a lot of money. They're paying a lot of
Oh,
money,
this year's
for the
crazy.
training, for the travel.
Now I'm paying for
It's
club and
it's
I'm like,
it's
what?
re- it's expensive. It's really the travel, everything, the expectations. They want to get a scholarship and play in college. They also deal with high school tryouts. It's with club tryouts. It's very expensive, and I think a lot of these parents feel that it's just a lot. They have to make this big decision because making for a lot of families, a huge financial commitment. And and it's not easy. And unfortunately, for all the parents listening, we're not always going to make the right choice, when it comes to club. It's, all you can do is really just learn from it, take it away as a learning experience, and then, just try to do a little bit better next year. Yeah. So, yeah, we're talking about the parents. What's the best advice you can give a parent with a child starting high school volleyball?
Just to give them the tools on like a support side of things to be able to go in and just do it instead of, I don't know, trying to make sure they're set up for success. I don't know if that's the right way to put it. I just think let him go after it. Give him the freedom to go do it. I think that's the best advice. Like give them the freedom to succeed or fail on their own. And then step in when you need to step in. I think that's the best way. Cause like, obviously you want to give them the best chance for success. Like you want to, like allow them to train and work out, or if they want to do lessons or whatever to get ready. And I think each program is probably different. My program's, uber competitive, and I probably
Yeah.
get, this year, honestly, I probably had 25, 30 girls that didn't make the program that would make 90% of other programs, so they're good volleyball players. It's really tough. So coming into Costa is tough as it is because, I had 28 liberos in tryout for just JV and frosh soft. 28. Yeah. Right. I picked like 3 for each
How do you
team.
do? Yeah.
So
It's tough.
yeah.
That's not easy when you have so many athletes, and when you go into a competitive program like that, that's just the expectation. You just have to come into it knowing that it's difficult, and that there's a lot that comes with it.
Yeah. I mean, I think Costa's like different from a lot of schools for that
Yeah.
reason, because there's just so many of them. Like the girls were devastated and it breaks my heart, but just so it's not the same for every program out there. But I think it all comes back to allowing them to succeed or fail at first on their own, and then you navigate what's next with them. But I think it's important. Like it's always comes back to the lessons that we teach our kids, right? Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Cam, for coming on. I really appreciate your insight and taking the time to come speak to everyone. Where can people follow you?
So on Instagram, it's Coach Cam Volleyball. That's like the main platform that I have everything on, and Costa Girls Volleyball I do a lot of stuff on as well. But and then I have the house where I do my training. So if anyone ever wants to reach out on Instagram and do some training, I do that on a daily basis. So
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
always
Anyone in the South Bay, LA, Orange County, if you want to get better at volleyball, this is the guy you see. Check him out, send him a DM, schedule a private lesson. You will not go wrong training with this guy. I can 100% vouch for that.
thanks, man.
Well, I appreciate my man. For everyone else watching and listening, make sure you like, subscribe to the video if you're listening on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Until next time, we have another amazing guest for next week. I'll see you guys next week.
Thanks,
Peace.
Coach.